You know what the cruelest thing about getting old is? It's not the body breaking down. It's not the friends disappearing one by one. It's not even knowing that most of your life is behind you. The cruelest thing is having enough time to finally see clearly, to look back at everything you did and understand for the first time what you were actually doing. My name is Harold. I'm 81 years old, and I have 4 children, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and a university professor, 4 children, 4 successful, educated, accomplished human beings. And my phone doesn't ring, not on my birthday, not on holidays, not on a regular Tuesday when an old man sits alone and thinks about where everything went wrong. I'm not telling you this so you feel sorry for me. I don't want your pity. I'm telling you this because somewhere out there there's a father working himself to death right now thinking he's doing the right thing, thinking that if he just provides enough, if he just gives his kids every opportunity he never had, everything will work out. I was that father, and I need you to hear what I learned, because what took me 81 years to understand, I'm going to try to give to you right now. I grew up with nothing. Not the romantic kind of nothing you see in movies where the poor family is dirty but full of love and laughter. No, I mean the kind of nothing that leaves a mark on a child. The kind where you wear the same shoes 2 years in a row and pray nobody notices. The kind where your father comes home and you can see the exhaustion in his face before he even opens the door. My father was a good man, a hard man. A man who believed with everything he had that providing was the same thing as loving. He never said, "I love you," not once, not to me, not to my mother, not to my brothers. But he worked. Lord, he worked. He worked until his hands cracked and bled. He worked until his back gave out at 58. He worked and he provided, and he genuinely believed that was enough. That was the only language of love he knew. And I watched him, and I learned. I learned that a man's job is to provide. I learned that feelings were something women dealt with. I learned that success was the greatest gift you could give your family. I learned all the wrong lessons from a man who was doing his very best. And then I went out into the world, and I repeated every single one of them. I met my wife, Caroline, when I was 24. She was the most alive person I had ever seen, laughing at everything, curious about everything. She could talk to a stranger for 5 minutes and know their whole life story. I loved her immediately, not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she made the world feel lighter, like maybe things didn't have to be so heavy all the time. We got married at 26. Michael came first, then Sarah, then David, then little Emma, who wasn't so little anymore by the time I started paying attention. And from the moment Michael was born, something shifted in me. I looked at that tiny person and I made a decision, a silent, unspoken, absolute decision. My children will never know what I knew. My children will never wear the same shoes twice. My children will have every opportunity. My children will be somebody. And I meant it. God help me, I meant every word of it. So I worked. I worked the way my father worked, but harder. I worked the way I had watched men work in every movie, every story, every example I had ever seen of what a good father looked like. I was at the office before the sun came up. I was on the phone during dinner. I was traveling for work when Michael had his first school play. I was in a meeting when Sarah broke her arm and Caroline had to drive her to the hospital alone. I was closing a deal the summer David learned to swim. And Emma stopped asking me to come to things before she was 10 years old. She just stopped asking because she already knew the answer. And I told myself that was fine. That was the sacrifice. That's what good fathers do. They sacrifice the small things now so their children can have the big things later. Nobody told me that to a child. There are no small things. By the time Michael was 16, I was doing well, very well. We had moved to a bigger house, new cars, nice vacations once a year. The kids went to good schools, had tutors when they needed them, had everything they pointed at. I was proud. I sat at the head of the dinner table on the rare nights I was home for dinner, and I looked at my family and I thought, I did this, I built this, I was providing, I was succeeding, I was being the father I promised myself I would be. What I didn't see, what I was completely, totally, embarrassingly blind to, was that my children were growing up with a stranger at the head of their table, a stranger who paid for everything, a stranger who showed up sometimes, a stranger who smiled and asked about school and then went back to his phone. I was there, my body was in the room, but I was never present. There's a difference, and it took me far too long to learn it. Being there means your body is in the room. Being present means your heart is in the room. Being there means you showed up. Being present means they felt you there. I was there for maybe 30% of my children's lives. I was present for almost none of it. Let me tell you about the moment I should have understood. Michael was 17. I had actually promised to come to his basketball game, the semifinals. He had been talking about it for 2 weeks. Every time I saw him, he mentioned it. Not begging, not desperate, just mentioning it. The way a kid mentions something when they're trying not to want it too much in case they're disappointed again. I didn't go. Last-minute call from a client couldn't be avoided. Business was business. Michael would understand. He was almost an adult. He would understand. That night I came home late. The house was quiet. Caroline was already in bed, and I passed Michael's room and his light was still on. I knocked, opened the door. He was sitting at his desk, didn't turn around. I said, "Hey, how was the game?" He said, "Fine, just fine." I said, "Did you win?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "That's great, son. I'm really sorry I couldn't make it. You know how it is." He turned around then and looked at me, and he said something I have never forgotten, something I will take with me to my grave. He said, "Dad, I know you're not going to be there. I stopped expecting you a long time ago. It's fine. I just don't want you to keep apologizing for it because the apology is worse than just not coming." He turned back to his desk, and I stood there in the doorway of my 17-year-old son's bedroom, and I didn't know what to say because he wasn't angry. That would have been easier. Anger means they still care enough to fight. He was just done. At 17 years old, my son had made peace with the fact that I wasn't going to show up. He had adjusted his expectations down to 0, and I had helped him get there. I closed his door, and I told myself it was fine, that he was a teenager, that things would be different when he was older, that when he had his own kids, he would understand why I worked so hard. I was a fool. The children grew up. Of course they did. Children don't wait for you to be ready. Michael became a doctor. I told everyone at work. Told them with a pride that I had not earned. Sarah became a lawyer, brilliant, sharp, intimidating in a courtroom. She got that from Caroline. David went into engineering, quiet and precise and careful, built things that worked. He got that from nobody in particular. He built that himself. And Emma, my little Emma, who stopped asking me to come to things at age 10. Emma became a professor, literature. She teaches people how to read stories, how to find meaning in words. They are extraordinary people, all 4 of them, and I wish I could tell you that I had something to do with that. I wish I could tell you that my sacrifice meant something, that all those missed dinners and missed games and missed moments bought them something real. But the truth is harder than that. They didn't succeed because of me. They succeeded in spite of the hole I left. They filled that hole themselves. Caroline filled it. Their teachers filled it. Their friends filled it. I was the absence they worked around. That's not a small thing to admit. At 81 years old, to sit with the truth that you were the missing piece in your own family's story, not the hero, the gap. I apologize, I couldn't finish my story because I'm very sad. If you'd like me to continue, comment with part 2.